Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going to be getting back to the JRC here in just a moment for the disclaimers, the trigger warnings, brief rant. Maybe. We'll find out. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links in the description box, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive. That is where we get the bulk of the material in regards to the JRC on this channel from. We also have linked in their Neuroclastics article where they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The one that managed to tick off the JRC so much, they did threaten Neuroclastic with a defamation lawsuit if they didn't remove it from the website. Neuroclastic didn't, so it's still on there. Please click on the link, read it, share it. We've also got Neuroclastic's GoFundMe linked in there as well, because unlike the JRC, we don't have access to unlimited funding. Trigger warnings when we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use the headphones. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching, very obviously, parental supervision is advised. Now, can somebody please get a hold and take away Trump's pin and make that man stop doing stupid shit? Okay, so last night, I had just gotten off here doing some pre-prep on some videos, right? So I was already suffering from the JRC overall stupidity and the fact that they are continued to able to be existing and practicing bad medicine all this time, to turn on the TV and find that that man caused absolute chaos. My phone was lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree. I shit you not. Every single disability advocacy group that I have been involved in, the mental health groups, NAMI, ARC, March of Dimes, Easter Seals, People First, ASAN, the International Disability Rights Groups, Holy Mother of God. Now, if you are already queued in, this video is going to be playing probably long after the dust has settled in regards to what happened the other day. But here's the problem. They were trying to say, well, we want to take out of that particular federal funding anything that has to do with foreign aid. There's a lot of problems with that. But if we're just going to deal with the scope that we handle here on this channel, what they were trying to pass doesn't just deal with foreign aid. It also deals with Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, Supplemental Security Income, Medicaid, literally all the funding. The only kind of funding that places like ARC, Easter Seals, Nova, that those people actually take out here in regard to services being provided, because we're in a horrible catch-22 situation and have been for years, but no, nobody ever listens to me. Nobody wants to listen to Tiffany. Another subject for another day. The point is, had that freeze gone through, then there would have been group homes that would have went down. There would have been assisted living apartments that are funded through federal grants by for places like Crowhaven, where I used to live when I was transitioning over into adult services. It would have completely destroyed Sassafras Apartments. That is an assisted living complex that is on the east side of the city, where granted these folks have more physical disabilities, but in their defense, this is life and death shit. These are people whose medical supplies depend on Medicare. They're direct care staff that has to help them and assist them in their day-to-day activities. Medicaid covers that. Their Social Security cover costs such as groceries, electricity, rent, and that's just for starters. Service providers like ARC rely on programs like Medicaid in order to have them pay so that people like me and people who are elsewhere with their treatment programs, that's how it's generally paid for. Since I was no longer on Medicaid and haven't been for years, mine's been covered by regular insurance, which means I only had one place I could go to, which is Burl. The problem with Burl is the services they can provide, quote unquote, on the ground are extremely limited. Not to mention, particularly focused. Those people like at Sassafras or Crowhaven that I was telling you about would not be able to just switch over to Burl. Okay? Yeah. The direct care staff needs are very different from even when I needed a community integrator back in the day. Okay? If those funds get shut off, that shuts off their machines they need to live. It shuts off funds so that they will be able to afford to get their medication. The people at Sassafras are paraplegic. A lot of them are my friends. Okay? They depend on those machines to help them live. It funds everything that they have there to live an interdependent lifestyle. Okay? I call it interdependent. They do have direct care staff that come on schedules. They do have to have a van to get them to their appointments and when they want to go out and do activities, things of that nature. But if you cut off that funding, if they don't have enough medication or energy or literally anything to get them through, they are boned. Okay? Boned in a way that even I wouldn't be. Not just that. Over this way, almost kind of a little bit away from my balcony, there is the assisted living facility called Lancelot, also known as the Noisy Neighbors. It's an assisted living complex for the elderly, okay? These folks receive services through Medicare and Medicaid. If that funding goes, then the direct care staff from Mercy, from Cox, everything stops. Everything stops. Okay? So, when I told you that there was just absolute utter chaos for a solid 2 hours with me trying to get a handle on what the actual hell was going on, we got lucky that the judge caught it. I'm glad President Cheeto rescinded it. But this is the level of incompetence that we are currently dealing with. If you have problems with foreign aid, fine. I don't agree with you, but fine. But when you are dealing with funding that has such a broad scope as what they were trying to get done last night, you are playing God with thousands of lives. Okay? But it would just be to take care of the foreign aid, not when under the same bill it also includes federal funding for Medicaid and Medicare. Freaking Karen from hell, Trump, Barbie, I don't even know. Okay? My people got scared for no reason. You had people panicked, thinking about what would happen if there was no way to stop that freeze. It isn't funny. Okay? Somebody take a hold of that man's pen. Or at the very least, before you do wide sweeping, whatever the hell it is that he thinks he's doing, actually review in detail what assets you're looking to freeze and weigh what impact that's going to have on the most vulnerable of your goddamn electorate. I know I didn't say that right, folks, but God. And shame on you, MAGA, who were saying, but it won't affect Medicaid. Where do you think the bulk of the funding for Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and Social Supplemental Security in particular? See, that's SSI. The majority of disabled folks are on SSI, that's Supplemental Security Income. It's what I used to be on many years ago until I was finally able to get in full time. Okay? That's what they live off of. It is an extremely small amount. We're talking the type of funding that were you without Section 8 to try to apply and get into an apartment with it, you would not be able to afford it. Believe me, I know. I've been there and lived it. Okay? People gotta start thinking. Okay? If you wanna be a racist shit, or if you wanna be a nationalist shit, that's fine. You do that. But when you're looking to do sweeping actions like this, you can't just not even read before you sign the paper. Sorry, folks, but I haven't been that angry in quite some time. I have dealt with some of the worst scumbags to ever come and darken the doorstep of the political realm. What happened yesterday was absolutely careless. It was careless It was incompetent. And I can only hope that when it was signed, they didn't realize the impact it was going to have on our most vulnerable. I can only hope that. But to be honest, I've been jaded for so damn long, I can't even make that assumption anymore. All right, let's get to the JRC. That's enough for now. Just, I'm glad it got rescinded. I'm glad it didn't go through. You can't just continue to sign papers without making damn sure you read through all the goddamn details first before you fuck everyone over. That's all I'm saying. All right. Now we're going to go back here into the next sentence for RM. Upon his return to JRC, RM's behaviors increased approximately 5 or 6 times that of his SIB and AB levels before departing JRC. I'm going to explain this to you again, JRC. You traumatized that boy. The behaviors got worse because that is a response to trauma. That's how trauma works. Okay? I had autistic tendencies. Before stepbrother ever came into the picture, and things started to go horrifically, nightmarishly wrong. Okay? Odd little quirks. The fact that I could pick up and read words very early. That when I was learning how to talk, you can kind of even hear it now. My voice was very, very monotone. Repeating words like a parrot is what my aunt has told me previously. I don't care. I think that was cute. I was a cute little parrot. But not the point. Okay? Then I spent years getting horrifically abused by my stepbrother. Okay? Through the duration of it, I began to be inclined towards the darker sides of my diagnosis in a way that I had never been previously. So this is the body slamming the entirety of my body on the floor. You know, like they said RM did. As hard as I could. Slamming my head into the floor and into the walls. The hairbrush thing, the self-punching thing, the dragging my nails into my arms and pulling down while they bled. And then it escalated once I got out of there. Found brand new ways in my teenage years to continue to self-destruct. The aggression, the rage. Yeah. Things that weren't even necessarily things I was doing at before I had gone through that trauma. Okay? Two things I noticed from real life experience. When you have post-traumatic stress disorder, when you have major psychological trauma, when you're finally in that safe space where you don't have to hold everything in anymore, when everything finally comes out, yes, in the beginning, maybe even for a few years, the behaviors that were there previously are going to go up in number and get worse and more intense. More than likely, there are now new behaviors, usually self-interest or aggressive, that had never been there previously. Not to mention the psychological toll and the wonderful self-loathing that now we have to contend with as a direct result of surviving said trauma. Okay? It's no mystery to me why RM's behaviors went up in number. Any more than it would shock me for a neurotypical kid to suddenly start displaying behaviors who is an abuse survivor that had never happened before, that increase with intensity. That is the fallout from surviving trauma. The fallout for surviving trauma, if you're autistic in particular, means that I'm going to have those behaviors as an autistic would. Okay? Just because the way that I was acting out at the time wouldn't be an exact mirror to the way a neurotypical would act out under similar circumstances doesn't mean that said behaviors were not caused by the same root problem: psychological trauma. Okay? It doesn't take a rocket scientist. So JRC, I'm going to counter your argument with logic and sense. Okay, so hear me out. The reason why RM's behaviors increased, the reason why you saw new scary behaviors manifesting that had never been there previously before taking him out of your hellhole, is because you all traumatized this poor kid for years. When that kid was finally in a place where they didn't have to suppress and mask constantly anymore, when you suppress that much and it comes out in a rush, there is going to be both psychological as well as stuff that comes from our diagnosis that's going to be a part of the fallout. Let me be more blunt. Taking him off of the GED is not what caused this issue. What caused this issue was putting him on the GED in the first goddamn place. Let me say that again for the morons in the back. Taking RM out of JRC and taking the GED device off of him is not what caused this increase in the appearance of new behaviors. What caused that increase and a manifestation of new behaviors was the fact that you put that goddamn device on him in the first place. You treat someone like an animal long enough. Eventually, we're going to break, and you're going to get the animal. It's common sense. The fault here, JRC, lies with you. Not DDS, not Hogan Regional Center. From you. You caused the trauma. You are directly responsible for the fallout that happened because of it. Okay? Number 2. It takes years. Years. I'm speaking from my own personal experience here to begin to work through all of that trauma and redevelop the skills that you lost because of burnout. Okay? We're talking years of therapy. We're talking for when the situation called for it, medications to help deal with the issues that we don't have any real control over, that no self-soothing mechanisms were helping us with. The reality is, those of us who've gone through trauma are going to have to deal with that fallout for the rest of our goddamn lives. Our eyes are forever clouded. Our body and mental chemistry forever changed from that trauma. Okay? What we do over time, when the proper interventions are put into place, is we can learn to live with it in a capacity that it doesn't destroy the rest of our lives. RM needed someone who was an expert in regards to mental health and trauma to become a part of his overall treatment team, to help him begin to work through all the shit that had been suppressed for decades because of the JRC. Now, you wouldn't see those behaviors disappear in a week or even months, but over time, you would see the frequency begin to slow down, except for in very specific circumstances, come down to where we're able to interact and be a part of the world again. The answer in regards to an abused child that is dangerously acting out is to not then send that child back to their abuser with the insane logic that they weren't manifesting quite as dangerously those behaviors before they were taken away from the abusive environment. Why are we disabled people? Why are we continuously not given that same protection to be able to work through our traumas in a safe environment instead of being thrown back to our abusers because people can't be bothered to do their damn jobs? We're going to go ahead and close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and as always, folks, please don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely hope you have a good one. I'm going to go cool off. I'll see you all in a few minutes. Bye-bye, everyone.